Welcome, everyone. My name is Stephen Goldberg of Optimus Performance, bringing you practical tips and ideas on leadership, team development, and employee performance in the workplace. And I'm really happy to have with me a special guest, Mandi Graziano. Did I say that right?
You got it. You nailed it. Yeah, Graziano.
I nailed it. It's a little difficulty, but I got it. Mandi will solve your company's sales problems quickly. Through her one-on-one or group coaching, she has a track record for increasing sales and the speed of closing deals. She curates creative closing tactics, inspires clever ways of finding new business, teaches more effective time management, and educates the best ways to listen to the voice of the customer. She is your company's fun and creative secret weapon. Her 23 years of experience in leadership roles, sales, management, business, and hospitality give her a unique edge to help your company thrive. Most importantly, Mandi uses humor, fun, and stories to motivate you or your team to make your business better. Sounds fantastic. Welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me. It's fun. It's great to be here.
Where are you calling in from, so we situate people?
Yeah, I'm in San Diego, California.
Great. That's a great surf city. The last time I was there, I'd never seen such high waves. It was a phenomenon at that.
It must have been a full moon. We have an almost full moon here, and the waves get crazy on the full moon. I am not a surfer, though. I am really bad in the water. I'm more of a mountain girl, but I do like a boardwalk, beach walk. So I'll take it.
Well, for sure. It's a beautiful city. So let's have you describe the types of clients you work with, like what size companies, who are your ideal client, let's say?
Yeah, it really just depends on the business, right? When we're talking about my hospitality or my conference business, it can be a large company, a large technology company, who I'm not allowed to say because I signed some documents that I won't say, but it can be a large technology company doing a huge users type meeting, all the way down to an association, like a trade association in the medical or the food and beverage industry. I work with some large name grocery stores that you would know off the top of your head. So the conference business, there's all sorts of sizes in different industries. For my coaching business, I do a lot of one-on-one and a lot of group coaching. So one-on-one, I would say recently in the last couple of years, it's seasoned veterans that have been in their business 15, 20 years, but they decided to change industries and hopping different industries. They become the new kid in the cafeteria, not knowing what to do. They have that transferable skill set, but there's still a whole bunch of new systems and processes. So I coach them on that transition. And then yeah.
Well, let's just talk about the coaching part of it.
Yeah.
Since this channel is about training and development, personal development, what is the typical or one of the most important problems that these one-on-one or group coaching clients have that you help them address? So what are they facing?
Yeah, I think a couple different things. Time management, and I hate the word. I wish we could come up with a better name for time management. It's so lame. But really, truly, time is our greatest asset, and how people manage their time one-on-one or even in a group. I mean, organizations head to toe in different industries. They're really big on having meetings and having meetings about meetings and meetings about meetings. And there's just so many better ways to just run a meeting or not have as many meetings, right? But then when it comes down to the individual, a lot of people can get a lot of stuff done in 3 hours, where those same people take 20 hours to do it. And it's really, how are you plotting out your day? What are you focusing on? How are you reading email? Just reading emails alone, you can do a whole course in how to better manage your inbox. And right now I have found that companies are really understaffed, and the volume of business is coming back in quadruple, and they're unprepared for that avalanche. So there's an issue with prioritization as well. And there's an issue with leadership being able to understand that and deliver that prioritization message too.
So how does, you mentioned a few things there, which I find interesting, because time management and running a meeting, I guess, is kind of like a skill. There's kind of like an approach to it to be more effective. But when it comes to the individual basis approach to time management, or use the word prioritizing, how do you see the challenge different for different types of people, like different types of salespeople, let's say?
Ooh, that's a great question. I think, let me think on that. I think it's a good question. I think it depends on the experience level, right? I think there are certain salespeople that are all about the dollar, and understandably so, because many salespeople are very money motivated. But then there's certain salespeople that are very volume and educated oriented, and they want to get things done. I think you have to be both, right? I think you have to figure out from a time perspective what makes sense for you from a dollars to grief ratio, right? When to fire clients that give you a pain in your stomach or waste your time. So I think the senior people need to be a little more like the junior people, and the junior people need to be a little more like the senior people. Like, we really need to collaborate and take some cues from each other, because you can't be all about the almighty dollar, and you can't be all about the experience. You have to be a little hybrid of each now.
Well, it's got to be about the client, right? Because
it's always about the client. Yeah.
The selling process has to appeal to the needs of the buyer. So, but what I was trying to get at is, let's say I'm a doer type, and my problem is prioritization. And let's say somebody else is more of a research type, and, before he acts, he needs to do a lot of research. And so he may procrastinate doing too much research. Maybe I'm always running and don't take the time to plan. So how do you coach people based on these different styles and help them achieve the same end, I guess, solution, which is to be more effective in the time you have available?
Yeah, that is a great question. And that's something that I see in the first 20 minutes of a discovery call when I'm coaching somebody. You can tell right away if somebody's an analysis paralysis person, or you can tell immediately if somebody is they just run through the door before they figure it out. So I think it's all about celebrating the mini wins. And I think you have to give that doer the example of what a mini win of doing just a little bit of research looks like, right? And the same with the analysis paralysis. You have to give the research person, celebrate that mini win of what it looks like to go into a meeting, and I call it half-baked, but where somebody may go into a meeting and they may prepare for it days and days and days and days, but then we'll say, hey, you have this meeting tomorrow, wake up just an hour earlier and prepare for it. Don't even think about it, but just prepare for it tomorrow morning, and see how you feel when you go into it with it fresh, and see how open you are. In my experience, the people that are heavy on the research side, when you give them that confidence to go into a meeting and say, hey, be prepared that there's going to be any possible outcome. You're a professional, you're great at what you do, but there's going to be be prepared for all the possibilities. They realize that the conversations open up a little bit more, and the creativity opens up a little bit more, and that, oh, wait, I don't have to waste 3 days preparing for this. I can do it in an hour, and I can be a little more efficient. So I think it's all about giving them opportunities to have a mini win and see the other side of how to do it. And then all those mini wins add up to big wins. And I think that's, I think the word coach, I was a coach before the word coach, and I know you were too, before it became popular. That's another new word I'm trying to find a good synonym for. But I think that's what a good coach does, right? Just helps you continually celebrate the mini wins and shows you all these different ways you're winning and improving along the way. So I think you just have to show those mini wins.
Well, I find that's quite an encouraging approach, because it's easy for people, especially high achievers, to always not see what they're accomplishing. And if you can identify and celebrate those mini wins, it's motivating and encouraging. Let me ask you, over the prior to what we've been through with the pandemic and working virtually, and now we've been, we're starting or going back to face much more. How has things shifted? And we also have the supply chain issues. So what are the issues that salespeople face now? Are they different? And I mean, time management is something that's kind of like always there, depending on your style. But what other challenges that do you help your clients with, and how has it shifted from before the pandemic to now?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of things that are different. And I think being a salesperson or just being an entrepreneur is difficult right now, right? I think anybody that has a job, it's difficult for everybody right now, but there are great solutions. I think there are more people involved at a higher level in decision making than ever before. So there's just way more spreadsheets, right? Where a decision timeline in the past might have been 3 weeks and now it's 5 weeks, but the goods are perishable and things are expiring. So your decision has to be done in a more condensed period of time. So I think, the best thing any person in that level that's offering something to somebody else can do is set yourself up with templates. If you do something more than 4 times, create a template for it so you can get that information out quicker. And just know more eyes are looking at it, right? In the past, it might have just been the VP of sales or the VP of IT or whoever it is your target is. But now your procurement person, the CFO, even sometimes the general counsel and the CEO are looking at it, where in the past, they may not have had any visibility to it. So I think there's more eyes on the early decision-making and there's more spreadsheets involved. That's the first thing that I see. And I think the second thing I see, especially, I was just talking to a group of people in manufacturing last month, and their issue is a lot of the same of all the rest of our issues, the supply chain. So you're having to have conversations with customers that are difficult right now, right? Like, I can't get this to you within this time frame and I don't have any control over it. Oh, and by the way, it's going to cost you 3 times more. So I think it really behooves all of us to figure out, how do you deepen those business relationships? Because you are going to have harder conversations now than you ever have before. And your relationships with customers are more vulnerable now than they've ever have been before. So we got to get better at having those deep relationships. And a lot of them are, I can't get this for you in this period of time. I will get this for you eventually. Oh, and by the way, it's 3 times more expensive. So those are the 2 things. I mean, I see all sorts of things. I think the third thing I see coming back to face is that people are a lot more clunky and they're hazy. And just the general interaction, everybody's been working through COVID, but physically going back into somebody's office or going to a conference or going to a networking event, it's exhausting right now. So I think just preparing yourself, it's necessary, but preparing yourself for, hey, it's going to be a little clunky coming in of it, and it might be a little awkward. And coming out of it, there are certain things you have to do for yourself and your team to recover from that, so you're ready for the next time. So those are the 3 things I would say I've noticed coming out of COVID.
Yeah, it's kind of like we've been cocooned for the last 2 years, and it wasn't okay to go see somebody, but now it is. So would you recommend that salespeople get out there and go face to face with their clients now that they can? And I guess that's part of just reconnecting and creating that relationship.
I recommend they get out there, but also ask your clients, and not just salespeople, right? So like, everyone in your company is a salesperson and everyone in your company is a recruiter. And I think right now it's really hard to recruit and retain top talent. It is definitely a job person's market, right? So a job seeker's market. So I think you have to really instill that in people of, everybody's a salesperson, everybody's a recruiter. We can help build this business with the right employees and the right people power. We can help build this business with the right sales mentality. And I think it's not just the salespeople, send the COO out, send your CTO out, send an IT manager out with a salesperson and engage. And when you do it, you have to ask customers questions that you might not have asked before. You have to go deeper. Like, you have to ask, how have you changed in this last couple of years? And what's been difficult for you or what's been easier for you. We have to go deeper with some of these questions, and we have to dare to ask some of the questions we might not have asked before because they were too personal, or we might get an awkward answer. I think people want to talk about their experiences, and it's going to inevitably make you a better relationship manager.
So let's just flip back for a minute about the decision-making. As you mentioned, more now it's taking longer for companies to make buying decisions, and there's more people involved at the earlier stages. So how does a salesperson, because that's, I think, one of the biggest mistakes salespeople make, is they don't address everybody who's part of that decision-making process. They assume often that one or two people are making the decision, but there's these other influencers. So maybe that's a good quick tip. How do you make sure that you're not being blindsided by people influencing, or maybe even somebody higher up that's really making the decision that you don't know about? So what's a good tip for that we can give our listeners?
Yeah, I think my favorite tip for this is to say, hey, here's how the process works on our end, and give a quick synopsis of what the process looks on our end. And then say, I know a lot has changed coming out of COVID. What does the process look like on your end? What are your next meeting dates? What information do you need for that meeting? How can I arm you with that information? And what hurdles do you think I can help you hop? So I think, like, from the beginning, showing that you are in it, you're linking arms with this customer, and you're leaping through the processes, the inevitable processes the buyer has to make that they know they have to make. I hate it when somebody says, what's your decision timeline? It's like, okay, we all know that question, but really saying, here's what goes on in my world. Now, what does it look like for you? And then continually asking along the way after that first meeting, hey, or right before that first meeting, I know you have a meeting at 2:00. Do you have everything you need? Is there anything else I can provide for you? And then they'll say whatever they say. Then after that meeting, how did it go? What were some of the goods, the bads, the uglies? Is there any other information I can provide? I think just kind of staying on it, tracing yourself in your calendar and staying on it, but really starting with, here's how our process works. Now tell me how your process works. Then instead of just grilling someone with questions, making it a little more of a collaborative process with each other.
That's a very good suggestion. I like that. Now we see next to you the copy or the image of your book. Tell us about that. You told me before that you just published that. So what's in the book? What value can it bring to somebody, a business owner, a director, salesperson? Who's it for? Let's hear about the book.
Well, I'll tell you this. So I never intended on writing a sales book. I never intended on writing a business book. I'm a fiction person. And I've carried journals around since I was 12 years old. And then when I started in the workplace, when I was 18, 19 years old, even all through college, I had journals with me. And I continued through the last 35 years to write, good bosses, good customers, bad customers, just scenarios. So when I knew someday I was going to write a book, but when I actually sat down to write the book, I hired a writing coach, and she said, yeah, I've read some of your stuff. You're not a fiction writer. And it broke my heart, because I thought, this is my dream. I'm going to write I'm going to write a fiction book. And she said, can you write a business book? Because when I read your business writing, it's entertaining and I can relate to it. And I was like, well, that's no fun. I have to deal with that all day. This is supposed to be fun. So I wrote this book with the intention of, we live in a really intense world right now. I wanted to write something funny, and I wanted it to be true and have relevant nuggets that people can take away. So the book is called Sales Tales, The Hustle, Humor, and Lessons from a Life in Sales. It's a collection of stories that actually follows the sales process in the order of a typical sale. So it goes through prospecting, networking, building relationships, making a pitch, closing the deal, and disaster selling, which COVID gave me. And then, I harkened back to 2008 and September 11th, where we figure out how to run a business through a crisis. But it's a collection of funny business stories as a buyer and as a coach, and then as a sales leader, in multiple industries. So there's a little something for everybody in there. And, you know, I start the book off, and I really feel passionately about this, is that we all need sales in every part of our lives. Even my mom, mother of 4, had to get us up, 4 kids up, out of bed, eat breakfast, and out the door by 8 a.m. and the amount of negotiation that goes into that. So I think I really, truly wanted to write a book that was funny, that had practical takeaways. I think I got a quote, somebody told me the other day, they were digestible sales snacks. I love that. But I really want to disarm the stigma of sales and write a book in a funny way that helps people get comfortable with it. So when I did my beta testing and stuff for it, I didn't even have any business people read it. I knew business people would like it, but I wanted other people that were outside of business to test it and let me know. So I had a principal of a high school read it, and I had a housewife read it. So, you know, they gave me some feedback about it as well. So, you know, I'm not a fan of saying this is a book for everyone, because I believe in niche, you know, niching things down. But I do think you can pick it up and you can get a little something for it from every chapter. You don't even have to read it in order. It's all a whole bunch of stories. And then some tales too, from people that I really respect over the years in multiple industries as sales leaders. And then they told some stories about me too. So that's what you'll get out of the book. Definitely a laugh. Worst case scenario, all you get is a laugh. Best case scenario, you get some practical takeaways for your business.
I'm sure there's some good lessons there, and who can't use a laugh these days, you know, with
That's right. Yeah.
just watch the news and you want to go get a laugh or go to the bar, one of the
or read a sales book. One of the something's going to give you a laugh. Just go find it.
So we'll put a link. I guess your book's easily found on Amazon, but we'll put a direct link. You'll send that to me and we'll put that in the description of the video or the show notes of the podcast. Is there one free valuable piece of information that you can, or called a valuable free resource that you have that you can offer people?
Yes. In fact, if you go to my website, mandigraziano.com, I have a link. It's actually called Sales Tales Nuggets. Okay. And it's 9, actually it's free and you can download. Each one is what I find important keys to business. So one of them is like top 10 hacks to better manage your time. Another ones are 5 lessons I learned from my first sales mentor. Another one is 6 things that you can do to have a better business bedside manner. Yeah. So if you go to the website and you just go to a Sales Tales Nuggets, there's 9 different things. You can have all 9, you can just have one. But I believe in sharing all the sales tips possible so we can all be better in the world, for sure.
Well, that's great. I love those little hacks, I guess you call them, because they're easier to retain than, you know, there's so many books. I'm sure we could learn from your book, but there's so many books on leadership and personal development, and yet there's, you know, and when we read them, we enjoy them. We say, oh, I got to apply this, and then somehow other, you know, habit gets in the way and we forget. But having those little tips is really great.
Having the tips are great, and I wish I could say it was my idea. It was not my idea. A manufacturing company actually hired me to speak to at their sales kickoff. And it was virtually. It was during Omicron earlier this year. I was supposed to be live, but it then ended up being during Omicron. So I had to do it virtually. And she actually came up with the idea where she said, can you drop some nuggets during the speech? And then we're going to have a contest. So the people that reach out to you, we're going to send your book to the first 50 people that reach out to you. And then you can then follow up with some of these nuggets. So I created the nuggets based on, you know, that need for it. But I thought the infographic, they're really pretty. It's really easy to read. It's a shame to just give it to this one customer. So then I just popped them up on my website because I thought they were valuable for other people too. So it wasn't my idea, but it was a good result of someone else's idea that I stole.
Okay, well, we'll put a direct link to that as well.
Cool.
Mandi, what's the one question that I should have asked you that would give great value to our audience?
Ooh.
That's the hardest question.
It is a hard question. Okay, I've got one. What is business bedside manner and how do we improve it?
Oh, uh, that's something new. So
Mhm.
what is it? You could answer it for.
Is this where you ask me or is this where I tell you? How does this
Yeah,
work
that's the
here?
question. What's
Yeah.
good business bedside manner? We all know the thing about good doctor bedside manner,
Hmm.
and we've all experienced that. So what's good business bedside manner?
Business bedside manner is, as we're coming out of COVID, we have to develop. So a lot of people think they have a business bedside manner, but they probably don't. And if you think you do, you've got to redefine it. And if you don't have one, you have to create one. And really, it's just your approach. Who are you in the business place? Like, are you the person that starts a meeting, just gets right to it and just doesn't ask anybody how their weekend was? Are you who are you? Are you the person that when your phone when you're calling somebody and the phone rings and they don't want to answer, they hit decline or their stomach hurts? Like, who are you? What is your approach in business? And how are you creating your approach that it makes people feel good about their interaction with you? So, I give a story about, we've all been to the doctor before where they come in and the clipboard's disheveled and they don't know what's going on and you've got a list and you want to talk about something. And before you know it, they're rushing you out the door. That's just an example of a bad bedside manner. So you want to think about, like, in your business, are you rushing your customers off the phone or out of the office? Are you making them feel bad about interacting with you? Are you listening to them? Do you even know what's changed or what's happened in their life? So, a great way to reestablish a business bedside manner is, instead of saying, how are you, take how are you off the table and say, what made you laugh today? Or what made you laugh this week, right? So think about your most commonly asked questions that are kind of lame that everybody asks and swap them out with something else that it immediately makes you a little more clever and different. And then, like we talked about earlier, if you haven't seen a customer in a while, ask them, how have you changed? What's easier for you? What's more difficult for you? And what's keeping you up at night? Like, some of these things of just gaining a deeper relationship with people will help you have an overall better business bedside manner. And then adding on top of that, some great things came out of COVID where we're all on Zoom and everything all the time. Keep some of those things in there, like video. The power of video is spectacular. So instead of, sending a follow-up email, send a follow-up video. You can record it on your phone. It doesn't have to be perfect. You can use Loom or, any one of those technologies, or you could just use your simple phone and say, hey, great to talk with you. I'd love to work with you in the future. That way you're putting a face to a name. So I think there's some other business bedside manners that you can employ that just make you somebody that wants to have a deeper relationship with people. And you can do this with your employees too. What's on tap for the weekend is such an easy question to ask at the end of a Thursday meeting. And so many people don't. They just rush right into a meeting and you get to it and you get out and you don't even have a relationship with each other. So I think just looking at your holistic approach to your business by calling it a business bedside manner is just really important at where we're at right now. I think people are more open to it now than they ever have been before too.
Well, that's a great takeaway for anybody. What's your business bedside manner? Dealing with customers to, create that rapport, build that relationship, and even, like you said, with your employees, how do you interact with them? How do you engage them more, especially today when loyalty is so fragile because people, like you said, it's a job hunters market, a job seekers market. So people have so many options. And if you're not creating that bond and that relationship, they could seek a better climate of work somewhere else. So it's really important to be mindful of that. Well, that's a great tip. I'm going to remember that. What's your business bedside manner? I like that.
Oh, good. I love that.
That's really good. Very good. Well, Mandi, it's been great speaking with you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
As I mentioned, I'll put links to where you could find Mandi's book, her website, and her giveaways. Thank you for being here today. For those that are perhaps new to the channel and you haven't subscribed, I encourage you to do so you get news of new videos like this and the others. There's also free resources on my website that you could download, worksheets, templates. There's a link in the description of this video and podcast as well. Thank you all for listening, and we'll talk again soon.